mirror first. Like, what are we doing for our staff right now?
That's good.
What aren't we doing for our staff right now? Are we valuing them? People need to be valued. They want to be valued, right? They want to be seen. And so what are those things you can do to value your people, those little things?
Hey friends, welcome to yet another episode of the RESGEN Giving Life podcast, where we have meaningful and helpful conversations about being a man whose life in Christ gives life to others. I'm Tom Henderson, the founder of RESGEN and the host of the podcast. And man, have we got a good show on tap for you today. Before we dive in though, I want to remind you that tickets are available now for both Date Night Comedy 2026 and the RESGEN Men's Summit 2026. Two incredible events designed to strengthen your faith and your relationships. Date Night Comedy is going to be on Friday, January 16th this year at the Washington Pavilion, and the Men's Summit is going to be on February 21 at the Denny. That's right. For those of you that are not from Sioux Falls, the Denny is the Denny Sanford Premier Center. It's where we do all of our concerts, and we're praying for over 5,000 men to come there for those 6 hours and be impacted throughout the day from speakers like John Maxwell, Tim Tebow, Sammy Adaby, and comedian Johnny W. It is going to be a phenomenal time. So when the podcast is over, head to resgen.org, get yourself some tickets for dudes in your relational world. Guys, be a little proactive, get those date night tickets, get that on your calendar so that you and your bride can have what we know is going to be your favorite date night of the year. But tickets for both of those events at resgen.org. All right, well, let's get into today's episode where I'm being joined by Jay Woudstra. Jay's a husband, a dad, grandfather, and the superintendent of Sioux Falls Christian Schools, where he has spent years shaping not only the school's classrooms, but their culture as well, helping staff, students, and families grow academically, relationally, and spiritually in an environment centered on Christ. Today, Jay and I are going to talk about many topics, including the importance of leading yourself before you lead others, what it takes to build a healthy culture, and some of the most important lessons that he's learned on his leadership journey. That and so much more is coming your way. So whether you're a leader, a teacher, or you're just looking to be a man who's continuing to grow in Christ, this conversation is going to encourage you in so many ways. So let's not delay the encouragement any longer, shall we? Jay, my friend, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Usually, as of late, when I see you, it's when you're over at your son's yard, mowing his backyard, or just hanging out with your two grandkids that are over there, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, my son is privileged to have you as a neighbor. And I'm privileged to come over and spend a few nights there and tell you, it is amazing to be a grandparent.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You see me out there with my grandkids often.
Yeah.
You see me doing dad duty, mowing lawn, and last week I bagged it. And,
you did? Well, that's something. I haven't bagged mine all summer. So, man, I'm going to have you come over just right as soon as you get done with Joel's.
I should.
I just have one question for you, though, because, I have, if people know anything about me, they know that I love Costco. They know that I love my inflatable pool in the summer. So I just want to know, how many times have you seen me in my inflatable pool this summer?
I have not seen you in your inflatable pool.
It's probably for the best. You wouldn't recover from that. But, well, hey, this is going to be so fun. Thanks for taking some time out to come and just share this kind of space with me. And I just think that, as I said in the intro, I just feel like this is going to be a real encouraging conversation. Number one, for me, I always seem to be a benefactor of these conversations personally, but then also for those that are going to be listening or tuning in. So I'd love, just because for some of them, this is going to be an introduction to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want to give kind of a brief overview as to who you are, your family, how long you've been in the role that you've been in. Obviously, there's a journey even to get to that role. So we're going to dive into all that today, but do an intro and we'll get rolling.
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I think highly of RESGEN. I think highly of the work you do, have for many years. Mm-hmm. Tom, you've played a great role in the lives of our kids as well. Mm-hmm. And I know we're still one of the few kid events you do in a given year.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, my journey, I've been in education in my entire life. And if you would have asked me that, 30 years ago, I would have probably been the last person to be in education for the rest of my life. Right?
Okay.
I didn't like school growing up. I did not like to read, and now I can't stop reading. But God put me in this role since 1988. I started my education career as a elementary teacher, actually. I taught K-12 PE. I taught middle school history, some middle school Bible, Then I moved up into the ranks into the high school and became an athletic director at the high school level, assistant principal, um, dean of students, basically fancy word for I got to take care of discipline
Yeah.
at the high school level. And then in 2020, in 2000, I had an opportunity. I had opportunity to move to Chicago or Sioux Falls. I was living in Central California
Oh,
and had two opportunities. And I ended up, of course, taking the Sioux Falls job. Came here as an assistant principal, did that for 3 years, and became a high school principal in 2003.
okay.
In 2004, they offered me the superintendent's role, which I've held since that. And I actually went dual role from 2004 to 2011. And in 2011, just wasn't working well anymore. So I went to the school board and said something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we hired another principal. So I've been in this role a long time.
Yeah.
And when you look at superintendent or head of school, they call them nowadays, tenure in private schools around the country, that average is 2.7 years in this seat.
Wow.
So I've been blessed to be able to do it for 22 years.
Wow.
And that's my journey.
Yeah.
I've got a wonderful wife of 38 years, Dawn.
Mhm.
Two kids, one your neighbor,
Yeah.
Joel, and his wife Katie, and Charlotte and James are my grandkids. And I've got a daughter, Jordan, in Central California.
Yeah.
She's also a second grade teacher. She is actually in the school I started in 1980.
Come on. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. I often
Okay.
say they forgot about me because they
Yeah.
hired her.
They're like, well, they can't get worse than Jay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
maybe his daughter will be like, she'll step it up a little.
So that's a journey.
Yeah.
That's where I've been.
So when you transitioned from California to Sioux Falls,
Mhm.
I mean, which is interesting because, I was raised in California till I was 9. So
Yeah.
it's not like I had really strong foundations of
Sure.
being a Californian or anything. But, from 75 to roughly 85, I lived in California. And, but even at that age, I was like, man, this place is different. Like Sioux
Yeah.
Falls is just significantly different from California. So was that an easy transition for you and your family? Was it, because your kids would have probably been roughly
4 and 6 years old.
yeah. So it's a good time to move as
Mhm.
far as kids go because they're just getting started in their
Yeah.
schooling. But what was like the biggest, I guess, surprise or challenge with moving to Sioux Falls from California?
Yeah, we were in Central California, and Central California is very Midwestern-ish, if you would say.
Okay.
You don't have the north, the south, the coast in California, so it had a very Midwestern feel.
Oh,
So culturally, there wasn't a huge shift for us in that. It's Central California is very heavy dairy country, very heavy ag, and a very, I would say, conservative part of the state. So that wasn't a big shift. We had to move. We moved away from family for 11 years, moved back closer to family. That was different again, but that's the reason why we moved, was to get closer to grandparents. My kids were seeing their grandparents twice a year,
mhm.
and I did not want that for them. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest reason we moved.
And he'll never look back on that decision and say that that was not a good decision.
No.
We have not had the luxury of
Mhm.
having grandparents near our kids.
Sure.
And so we've already begun brainwashing both of our boys that when it's time for them to get married, listen, if you want to spread the wings a little, do it.
Yeah.
But once you start thinking about having those kids, let's try to settle somewhere near us so that we can be a part of their lives, because that is, and you already mentioned it. I mean, the special bond between a grandparent and kids, and even just seeing you walk down the street with Charlotte, and she's just holding your finger because her because her hand's
Yep.
not big enough to really, but just the sweet presence that you get to have in their lives is just probably the best gift you could be given.
It is. And one thing I do need to mention, Tom, about grandparenting, before I had grandkids, my idea was have grandkids. They get to come to my house. I'll spoil them and send them home, right?
Yeah.
That's the role of a grandparent.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I was at a conference and picked up a book, and it really rocked my world. And you're probably going to ask me the title of the book, and I don't have it top of my head. But it
Some of the
was,
principles in it, I bet you remember.
yeah, but I have a responsibility as a grandparent.
Mm,
I walk alongside of their parents, but I also have a responsibility to help raise those kids.
yeah.
And it's more than buy them toys and candy and ice cream and send them home on a sugar high.
Yeah.
So I really have changed my thought process. I've changed, they're only 21 months and 4 months. So
Yeah.
they don't know a lot yet,
Yeah.
but they're getting there.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And a role that, for years in our school, we have a grandparent day, 2 of them now. And for years, I would have grandparents come from California, Florida, New York, Texas, and they would spend 4 hours with us, and that's it. And I'm like, why do you spend all that time and money coming for 4 hours in a school day? And had my first grandchild, and I know why. I get it.
I get it now. I get it now.
Yes.
Well, that's so awesome. And so we kind of just talked a little bit about the journey of becoming that grandparent, but then also, in that opening segment, you talked about just the journey of just your career and growing in different levels of leadership, understanding of what leadership was, what it wasn't, or what it is, what it isn't.
Yep.
So we're going to get into a lot of on the leadership aspect of things today, but as you think about just even your growth as a leader, what are some of the things that you would say, like, maybe some thoughts you had about what leadership was, but then, the longer you're in it, realizing, well, that's not really what it is. What it is this.
Yes.
Is there like something that kind of,
Yeah, I think when it comes to leadership, I had to learn the hard way. I grew up a son of a very hardworking father, great dad I had, and taught me a lot of lessons about life. But once I got into the school world, in the teaching world, I was a very hardworking teacher. I wanted the best for my kids. But I would say when I started my teaching career, I would have been called a coach first, and I taught just because I had to. And it was one of those things that I really had to have a mind shift. Like, no, I'm called to do this for the sake of kids, for the sake of the kingdom. And I would say that's also fed into my leadership training or journey. As an athletic director first, I did that for 8 or 9 years in the athletic director world. And you soon find, like in a school setting, whether it's a Christian school, public school, Catholic school, whatever it might be, that athletic department is really the front porch of a lot of schools, right? Because it's one of the most visible things there is that a school does. So I found myself leading 25, 30 coaches, right? And I would say I don't know if I did that well. I was really young. I was in my 20s when I was doing that. But I can say I learned a lot through that process and of how to handle people, how to manage people. So I would say leadership today, I think there's 2 types. There's the organizational side on one side, and there's the personal side. The organizational side, a lot of times, is a lot easier than the personal side. And if you would have asked me that getting into leadership, I probably wouldn't have known the personal side of it, right? As an athletic director starting out, I could schedule games, I could schedule referees, I could get on crowds to act in a certain way or try to get them to act in a certain way. But then there's this other piece of leadership that nobody sees, right? We're going through that right now as a school. We've had 7 deaths in our school family since May. 2 parents and then 4 parents of teachers. And most recently, last Monday, we lost the baby of a first grade teacher. So I have had to put on that pastoral hat a lot recently. But that's a part of leadership that once you get into it, you get to listen to somebody on a podcast, or you get to see them do this, or you get to see them do that. But and I think there's a little bit of truth to loneliness at the top in any organization. I don't think it's probably what everybody sees, but you have to be very careful sometimes about how close you get in certain cases because you are in that role.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things that I even shared with your team, when I was able to come in this past August and come in and talk to all the teachers at kind of your big retreat day, which was such an honor to be invited and to be able to share, like, okay, so yes, we're called to care for students in the school hallways and the classrooms, but how are we as teachers, as coaches, and as leaders caring for one another?
Right.
And specifically in that area of are we building a culture? We're going to get into some culture talk today, but like building a culture where we really can be our real selves, where we can be authentic, where we can be vulnerable and share some of the things that, hey, this is what's going on when I'm not standing in front of the classroom,
Right.
or when I'm, leading some sort of meeting, but this is the real stuff. I shared, I did 4 funerals before I ever did a wedding as a youth pastor,
Right.
because I had, 4 parents die in a youth ministry, that I was leading in Oregon. And, you can't, well, I shouldn't say you can't, but most often you're not reading those kinds of things in a leadership book. You're not, especially back then. I think now there's probably a little bit more on this, the understanding people in leadership and how to come alongside people and care. But most often your leadership tips and tricks are not talking about just here's how you really come alongside your employee
Exactly.
when they're going through
Mm.
a challenging marriage,
Mm-hmm.
or a death in the family,
Mhm.
or they're dealing with their own mental health issues or whatever, which of course, I mean,
Yeah.
those are real conversations that you're needing to face on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's so much of that stuff on the personal side of things, as you said. There's no class you ever took for it, and there probably won't be. Maybe more so now, right? I would say my first real test of that came in 2013 when we, as a school, we lost an entire family except one young lady. I'm not going to mention her name, but very well known back then.
Yeah.
She now teaches for us, but entire family killed in a car accident on a Saturday afternoon. As the school leader at that point, you're put in a position where you've got hundreds of kids that you have to minister to. You've got hundreds of parents, and you've got a staff of over 100 that need you to act and react and lead. And there's no playbook for that. You just have to do it. And then on top of that comes the national media, because it's a big story. Local media, then national media, and you got to protect that innocent person that's still there. That was a really trying time and a difficult time. And I would say that was a turning point in my leadership, I would say, in 2013. You talk about the definition of leadership. You and I are Maxwell guys, but influence is right. You're going to influence positively or negatively. I think another one, and I don't know who quoted this one, Tom, but people influence or it's people.
Yeah.
Right. That's leadership. Because you have people in front of you every day, people that are depending on you every day. And every one of them has different needs. And how do you get to know each of those people? And I think that people piece also just fits right into the culture. You talked to our staff last week about being vulnerable. Without vulnerability, it's hard to build trust.
Right.
And trust is key, right? In any positive culture environment, trust has got to be key. And you can only do that by working closely with people. So I would say in order to pull that off, you have to be very, very intentional.
Yeah.
Without intentionality and vulnerability, trust is really hard to build and to keep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause keeping it's key.
Keeping it's key.
So let me ask you this, Jay, because like you just mentioned a minute ago about how sports is often the front door to any school system. So like you have been privileged to work within a, private Christian school atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I think about a lot of the teachers and coaches that are serving in public schools.
Yep.
You and I both know a lot of them.
Yep.
So where in your setting, you have total freedom to talk about the Lord at any time, right?
Yep.
But in a public school setting, it's not necessarily as easily done. I think that they can find opportunities and seek, ways to do that, and they do. But what would be helpful for them is, let's just say that a teacher or a coach they're working in the public school setting and they're just wondering, man, what can I do? Like how can I show Christ in my world? And this isn't probably not even necessarily in a public school setting only, but I mean, think about how many business leaders that you and I know too, that are trying to figure out how do we be faith forward in an environment that's not faith focused.
Right. Yeah. I think there's several answers to that. I'm going to take the business side first. You and I both know business men and women who are just out there and saying, we are going to proclaim the gospel. We're going to put it up on you walk in our doors, you're going to see Micah 6:8. You're going to see whatever, right? And it is who we are. I think others want to do it. They're a little more hesitant to do it. And they kind of test the waters a little bit more and that type of thing. And I think the same is true with a coach or a teacher in a public school. I think that depends on the district also. I think there's more leeway in some districts than others.
Sure.
And maybe it's not as much just straight out verbal that you can do in those settings, but boy, kids can learn a lot by how you act, how you react,
Right?
right?
That's good.
How you treat people.
Yeah.
I think they can tell a lot about your heart and who you're serving by those things, even if you can't be verbal about it. And I think sometimes you can be. I think you have to kind of test the lay of the land. And like, I'm sure there's districts, I've never worked in a public school district, but I'm sure there's districts where they know our leadership is okay with me doing that. We're doing this. Others, no, I can't go there. Right. I think you just have to test the waters, but how you handle yourself is really important.
Yeah.
That's not just true in the schools. It's true in life.
No, it's true in life. You're right. And what I love about what you just said, Jay, and I don't want people to miss this, and I want to circle back to it, is just so much can be known or seen by the way, not just how you act, how you react.
Right.
I think that's so good, man. That is so good because it's really how you're reacting in difficult situations, in discussions that are, challenging to have, which I think, I don't know if you've ever read that book, Crucial Conversations, but it's how you react in those crucial conversation situations. But that was so good. Was there a leadership mentor that you had, that maybe at the time you didn't realize the voice that they carried in your life, but as you look back now, you say, this is who that person was, and this is kind of some of the most important things I took from them?
Yeah, I would say John DeLue was a gentleman I worked for back in the early to mid 90s. He was a superintendent of the school I was at. Worked closely with him. I was the athletic director under his leadership. So I learned a lot from how he reacted to certain situations. Strategic planning wise, he always had big picture in mind. He was always thinking 3-5 years ahead. Master planning, all of that. And I would say at the time, I probably wasn't mature enough to figure out that that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
But I was this snot-nosed 20-some-year-old athletic director who thought I knew it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. But I would say he would have been a leadership mentor in my life. I also had a basketball coach in college, Rick Vandenberg, at Dordt College back then, Dordt University now.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot about, again, I didn't know it at the time, but taught me a lot about team. The importance of team. It's probably one of the reasons I like working with teams today.
Yeah.
Right. We were the first team in 1988 to go to the national tournament in Dordt University's history. And we just had a group of people that gelled well. Everybody knew their role. We had one superstar and everybody knew it. Right.
Yeah.
But I take that into my world today. I now have a team of 160 teachers and 300 employees.
Yeah. How many superstars?
All of them. All superstars.
That's a great answer.
Superstars, but
yeah,
everybody playing their role, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One body, many parts, that whole thing. And so I would say those two really helped me in that world, which I realized later that I didn't know at the time.
So when you're working with teams, Jay, and I know that is something that and you mentioned that we're both Maxwell guys, certified speakers, trainers, and coaches, and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of things that we've learned in that arena. But obviously, you brought a lifetime of learnings and things that have worked, things that have not worked.
Yeah.
So as you think about just team building in 2025, what mistakes do you often see leaders make when they're trying to build good teams? I think it's sometimes helpful to know, like, sometimes what to avoid,
right?
To help us as we're trying to maybe move into the space where we really want to build much more cohesion or unity as a team, or where we feel like, everybody understands their role.
Right.
And even for you to just say, like, hey, there was a team at Dordt where there was one superstar and the others were okay with it. because you understood how you were a key component to
Mhm.
making, victories happen,
Yeah.
both on and off the court. So,
Right.
so long question there, but what are you seeing there as mistakes that
Yeah,
typically?
I think, first of all, I think it's really important for organizations, whether it's schools, churches, ResGen, that you have a leadership team. I think that's extremely important. But I think a mistake that happens oftentimes is when you're starting or you're building a team, we tend to want to make it too big. So, the team maybe should be 5 and we have it at 9, right?
Mm,
And I think it's sometimes because of the fact we're not willing to say no, even though, Johnny over here thinks he should be on the team because he's really good in his mind. And so then we kind of pull the grace card. I'll just let Johnny be on the team. But I
mhm.
think our teams can get too big and we think bigger is better.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
not.
good.
Bigger is not always better.
Hmm.
Find the people that can really speak into the organization, speak into what you're trying to accomplish. That's your leadership team. You can always add.
Mm,
It's really hard to subtract from a team,
mm,
from a leadership team.
mm.
So start it small,
Yeah.
and then you can decide, hey, we really need some help here or some help here.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's one big mistake when starting teams. I also think a mistake that many leaders have, and especially if they're younger, is they're not willing to empower. I had to learn that the hard way.
Hmm.
I lived a life out of balance for so long, Tom. Um, when I learned how to empower other leaders is when my life actually improved. Honestly,
And maybe even and probably the output
that's all the output.
and outcomes.
Definitely, well,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
Um, we weren't as an organization nearly as good when I thought I had to do it all.
Yeah.
Right. Once I learned to empower, and you hire the right people, put them in the right seat on the bus,
Hmm.
and empower them to do the job you're asking them to do. In the end, if it goes poorly, you're still going to take it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Look in the mirror when things go poorly. Look out the window when things go well, right?
Hmm.
Give credit where credit's due. But and if you can learn to empower people and do it as quick as you can,
Hmm.
I think there's a tipping point, especially in organizations like ours. Um, if I were sitting here with a bunch of small schools that maybe don't have many resources, not have many kids, it's harder to do,
Hmm.
right? Because you can't hire people that you can't pay for.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, but I think in any organization, if you can empower others, honestly, we think sometimes as leaders, Tom, that we are good at everything, and we're not,
No. Right.
right?
Yeah. Very
There are
true.
people within an organization, if they can do it 80% as well as I can today,
Hmm.
I give them time, they're going to be at 110% as good as I am,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And we should have done that a long time ago.
That's so good. And those two, like if people like leave with nothing else
Yeah,
after
yeah.
this conversation, than just those two mistakes to avoid, I feel like this has been worth their time, because I know that as of, we're going on 16 years of ResGen, and one of the things that we've tried to do is maintain a small, nimble team, whether
Right.
that be on our board or, employees and so forth. And we are just now in this amazing rhythm with our board, especially,
Mm,
that everybody understands their role. They all bring different skills to the tables,
yeah.
but what they all bring is this passion and this heart
Mhm.
to do what God's called us to do.
Exactly.
And when there's discussions, there's just, even though we may not agree on everything,
Mhm.
there's just this unity in saying, okay, you know what, we're moving forward. And
Yep.
I think that that's really wise.
It's beautiful.
And then the ability to delegate and empower is, well, first of all, it's probably one of the most critical skills
Mhm.
that as leaders we can develop,
Yes.
is the ability to delegate and to empower. But how have you been able to do? Because this is something. Now I'm going to be honest. I'm gonna be vulnerable in front of you.
Yeah.
This is something that continues to be something that I'm growing in personally.
Mhm.
Because for the longest time, I mean, ResGen was just me,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was reliant upon me.
Right.
But as I've loosened my grip, and like, I mean, Austin and my team is just doing a killer job and
Mhm.
creating all the social media stuff, doing all ticketing for Men's Summit, date night that I mentioned. Like, we had a meeting that, last week, Jay, and the we were talking about ticketing, and I said at the meeting, I said, I have no clue how any ticketing's happening this year.
Good for you.
Like none. And then the gals from the event company, because we hired them to help us with the events, they're like, I know, I mean, are you okay with that? We were actually talking about saying, like, does Tom feel left out? I said, no, it's the most amazing thing, and what I've realized is that, something like the men's summit, which is kind of my baby,
Mhm.
but if that's going to really grow in the way that God wants it to grow, I've got to pull myself out of stuff. And it's and trust me, I make stuff a mess sometimes. So that's something. But so how have you, let me ask you, like, how have you found success in delegating and empowering, but yet still maintaining excellence and helping your team grow in their clarity
Mhm.
of the vision and understanding of their role?
Right. I would say back to what you just said about yourself, Tom, we sometimes as leaders can be the limiting factor
Yeah.
if we don't get out of the way.
Yeah. Maxwell says we're the lid, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the law of the lid.
Yeah.
If we don't get out of the way, we can limit where the organization's going to go. So I think that's really important to do, even though it's hard to do.
Yeah.
So I would say I've fallen into the empowerment a bit out of necessity, because way back when, Tom, there was a time, and I didn't learn from this, but I look back at it. I was a coach. I was a basketball coach. I was an athletic director. I thought I painted football lines on a football field at 8 o'clock at night and got finished at 3 a.m. This is only to say, I went 1 week back then. I tucked my kids in. I don't know how old they were, or they were young, on a Sunday night. I didn't see them again until the following Saturday night. I lived in the same house. I was not traveling. I went 6 days without seeing them. That's unwise.
Yeah.
So that's hard on families. That's hard on marriages. And when you are putting your work and everything before your wife, first of all, before God,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because it was an idol. It was an idol. It came before everything. And then before your wife, then before your kids. That really woke me up in time I need to empower. I need to hire people that can do it. So when you get asked about your tickets today, I get asked this a lot. And sometimes my wife says, why don't you know that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have to know that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, the marching band is marching Saturday. Oh, they are? I didn't know that. Right. And that's nothing against the marching band. It's like,
Exactly.
we hired a band director. We hired a fine arts director. That's there for them to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with any athletic event. At one point, I thought I had to be at everything just because I had to be at everything. And I don't, right? So if I didn't learn to empower, you wouldn't see me next door to your house, and because I wouldn't have time for my grandkids,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't have time for those things I'm really called to do. You've heard this said too, and it's probably a Maxwell thing, but I've kind of gotten to the point in my career and in my role that there's 20%, maybe 15% in our entire school system that only I can do. So that's where I got to spend my time, on that 15 to 20%. I got to do it really well, or the lights aren't going to stay on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But that other 85%, there are people capable. And by empowering, what are we doing? We're producing future leaders, and we need future leaders.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's one of my things. I'm 59 years old, but it's one of my things in life today is I want to work at making other people better. So at some point they can take my role and they can become leaders in our school, in RESGEN, in the community, in the kingdom.
Yeah.
We need leaders.
So, in order to be a leader, one of the things that we have to be able to do is we have to lead ourselves well, right? Because if we're not leading ourselves well, then how can we be entrusted to lead other people well? So I'm always interested in knowing from other leaders that are in my relational world, like what are some of the things that you have. Well, first of all, what does it really mean to lead yourself well? Number one. Yeah, I think we need to define that if we're going to talk about how we do it. But so, like, what does it really mean to lead yourself well? And then how have you learned personally to practice that in your own life?
Right. Well, you kind of answered part of it already. If I'm going to lead a school system, or if I'm going to lead my home, if I'm going to lead my kids, I really have to do a great job of doing it with myself first. So I throw that into 3 different buckets, right? Physically, emotionally, spiritually. I need to do all 3 well. I'll just quickly go through the physical
Yeah.
side. I'm very regimented. I would say pretty regimented. I'm 4:15 a.m. up in the morning. I'm at the gym. I get hour of exercise in the morning before most people are awake.
Yeah.
I get home. I brew my first 2 or 3 cups of coffee, uh, and then I spend time in God's Word and in prayer.
Yeah.
At that point, after that, I pull out a leadership book. So then I fill the cup with whatever leadership stuff I'm looking at that day. Right now, I'm reading a book on athletics and education world type of thing. So I'm also reading a book called Biblical Eldership. It was recommended to me, even though I'm not an elder.
Yeah.
So all of that hits the physical, that hits the emotional, it hits the spiritual. And then I think that empowering piece is how I also lead myself well.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't do that, I couldn't do the rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have the energy. I have more time now, Tom, at night than I've had for years.
Mm-hmm.
Years. And I can really pour into people in our building now to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
I also can pour into people in other schools. It's allowed me to do that. So it's kind of a nutshell is I think you have to be very intentional about all 3 of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And then get mentors in life. I'm a part of 2 groups of men, one on Tuesday mornings, one on Thursday mornings. I think those are our mentors. I think they're accountability people.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to have some accountability
Yeah.
in our walk. And I can't say especially men, but men need it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm very intentional also. One more piece. You heard an alarm go off at 1 o'clock on my phone. That wasn't because you were late.
Yeah.
I've become intentional about a midday prayer. It's on my phone. It's labeled prayer and meditation. So it's basically prayer and Bible reading, where I shut the phone off. I try to get out of the building for a half hour, 45 minutes. I could be in the building. It's just, I'm going to find a place alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a midday reset.
Mm.
Because for years, up until about 3 months ago, I can't even say this is like, I've done this for years. Up to
Yeah.
about 3 months ago, I would find myself doing what I told you, the 5 a.m. devotion time, prayer time. Then I could go from 5:30 till 10 o'clock at night with my tail on fire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You and I have roles that throughout the day we're asked to pray
Mm-hmm.
for this, right? You're at a function. Hey, Jay, would you open in prayer?
Yeah.
Sure. That was very rote, right?
Mm.
I can't say those prayers were all that heartfelt at times.
Mm-hmm.
This is an intentionality to stop,
Mm-hmm.
spend great time with the Lord again, middle of the day. It's a reset. So
That's good.
I became very intentional
Yeah.
in doing that.
Well, not only did you become very intentional, but you allowed those intentions to turn into action.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And because I think we've all had times where it's like, okay, I'm going to set my alarm for 4:15.
Right.
I'm going to get up and I'm going to get to the gym.
Yeah.
And then it's just easier to snooze or to, well, you
Hit
know
the
what,
snooze button.
tomorrow's coming, or I don't know. It seems like it's 10 below zero. That's my car's probably not even going to start. I think so we can give excuses for those kinds of things, but you've been very intentional, and then those intentions have turned into action.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is so good. It made me think of, this was a couple men's summits ago where I got turned on to this app put out. I want to say it's by John Eldridge, if I'm not mistaken, but it's simply called Pause.
Oh.
And it's just this app that at different points of the day you set alarms, and then you can go into that app, and then there's like a 60-second, 3-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, like meditation that you can do that just talks about, Lord, unify my heart with your heart.
Right.
And, the the busyness of the day,
Yeah.
it's so easy for that to become like my focus or whatever. And obviously there are times in our life where it's like, listen, we got to focus. Okay. So this isn't an escapism type
Right.
thing,
Right.
but it is a reconnection thing, because
Yes.
the reality is that, when you look at just practicing the presence of God, that's something we all need to grow in continually.
Right.
And we never stop.
Right.
We never stop that. I mean, you're 59.
Yep.
I'm 49. I'm about ready to turn the corner on 50 here at the end of the year. And
Yeah, we
so,
can celebrate a decade difference.
yeah, well, you know what? I'm excited. I honestly feel like that what has taken place over the last 10 years is really hopefully setting me up for the greatest influence I've had yet in my life.
Right.
And then maybe until my 60s, right? And you're going to be coming up on the
Yeah.
deep influence of your 60s. And but that doesn't happen unless we really do, just say, listen, we're going to turn our intentions into action and we're going to follow through on that kind of stuff. So that's so good.
So there's a book out there, Tom, you've probably read it, called Halftime.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as you turn 50, as I turn 60, what does that last, well, for me, hopefully not for you, what's that last quarter of life look like, right? We've both heard John Maxwell say, I'm not going to be done till I'm dead,
Yeah.
right? I hope that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to stop having an influence and an impact on people that I can impact till the day the Lord takes me home.
That's right.
So,
And that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have John Maxwell at this year's Men's Summit was because, I don't know of another person that's alive right now that has said, I want to be just basically used by the Lord, till the day that I die.
Yeah.
And I mean, and while he's here, it's actually on his birthday.
oh, is it really?
Yeah. So he
Okay.
turns 79.
Yeah.
And, so think about that. Like, he's willing to come here
Mm-hmm.
on his birthday,
birthday.
to hopefully, reach 5,000 to 6,000 men, be a part of that team,
Yeah.
with no thought of himself. And like, he should be going on, I'm sure he takes plenty of vacations, but like, he's not taking off his, I mean, he's coming to be used by the Lord,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
what a model. Not that he does everything perfect. No one's perfect, but to be 79 years old and say, man, I want to use my influence to the betterment of people and growing the kingdom.
Exactly.
And so
I'm so glad you have him coming.
yeah,
I am.
yeah.
I think
Well, I'm excited about it for sure.
It's
And
going to be amazing for the men of this community and surrounding communities.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're so gracious, and I didn't mean to go into some Men's Summit commercial, but you're always so gracious. And even after this year's, you just sent me the nicest text afterwards and just saying how much it meant for our community and for you. And so, yeah, I just hope that the guys will say that they want to come and bring 10 dudes with them,
Right.
and they'll help us fill the Premier Center.
Well, that I want to circle back to one more thing you asked me a while ago. You asked me how you lead that team.
Yeah.
And it goes to what you just said about John Maxwell, but we are all called to continue to grow every day, right? So one of the things I do with the people on my admin team is they have a growth plan. And that's one of the ways I keep track of, are we going from A to B, B to C, is the growth plan. And that is a bi-weekly conversation on where we at and where we're going. Because we have 9 people on that team, and we are called to lead this organization. Yeah, I have a school board to report to.
Yeah,
right. And we're gonna take this in one direction or another. But the growth plan is really important.
So do you meet with those 9 people individually?
Individually.
Okay. So that takes a significant amount of time on your part too.
Yep.
Which, in a world that says, man, how do we just create more time for other things?
Right.
I mean, you are quote unquote sacrificing that time because you don't feel like there's any other way for you to be that successful in that.
That is the group that I have the most impact on, right? Are my direct reports. I have 13 of them. 8 of them are on this team along with me. But yes, I'm very intentional about helping them grow, helping them get better at what they do.
So what kinds of things, I mean, because I think that there may be a leader out there, someone that's out in the business community, and, there's a lot of things that are transferable, right? I think it's just it's in a school setting, a business setting, a home setting, whatever. So what are some of the things or topics? How do you establish that growth plan? Is it just books? Is it just just through conversation? Is it, perspective stuff? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the education world, right? So it's leadership stuff. It's educational leadership stuff, classroom management, teacher evaluation, depending on what role they're in, right? And they make their own growth plan.
Okay.
Then we talk about their growth plan. For example, yesterday I sent them 2 podcasts. I try not to. I sent them via email because we have set a policy amongst us that you do not send text over the weekend. Text means emergency.
Okay.
You can send an email, but that can be open on Monday morning.
Okay.
I sent 2 emails yesterday with podcasts hooked to them, which I want them all to listen to, right? So that's one way.
Eventually, you'll be sending them this one that we just had
Pod-
together. So yeah.
Podcasts, Tom, are really easy.
Yeah.
In my opinion. There's a lot of people, I'm not saying that group, but a lot of people don't like to read.
Yeah.
Or they find it difficult to read, but they'll listen. And I think that's great. Books, seminars, leadership conventions, things like that. Anything that can help them grow. That's why I personally, I do it because I love it,
Yeah.
but I have to lead the way. That's why every day I have time set aside for me to grow.
That's good.
If I'm not, it's a bit like, if you're not going to lead yourself well, how can you lead others?
Yeah.
If I'm not willing to grow, how can I ask somebody else to grow?
So what you're doing is, I mean, you're really trying to establish a culture at Sioux Falls Christian of growth. I mean, so it's obviously you are investing in your leadership team. Your leadership team then is into their different teachers, and then teachers into their students. And so, so if someone's trying to, where does someone start? So like if they're assessing their work culture, and they're saying, man, I'm looking at our work culture right now, and I'm not seeing it to be very healthy, or it's definitely not focused on growth, or it's more negativity, less positivity, or whatever. Like, where does someone start? Because I think sometimes, I heard it one time saying that when you're feeling anxious about something, one of the things you should do is just get active.
Good action.
Because just if you start just kind of whittling away,
Right.
it'll take some of the anxiety out. But you can look at your culture and again, culture, I think it's kind of a buzzword, or at least has been, but that doesn't lessen the importance of it.
Right.
It's kind of like authenticity. It was a buzzword, but now it's just, but that doesn't lessen the importance of it. So if someone's feeling a little anxious about their work culture, even home culture, school culture, whatever, where do they start? How do they get active to try to relieve some of that anxiety?
Well, first of all, culture is very easy to pick up when you walk into an organization. I walked in here today, and I saw the 2 of you interacting and all that kind of stuff. I can tell the culture here is very positive, right? You can walk into a hospital, you can walk into a doctor's office, a church, a council, a school, whatever. You can pick up on culture pretty quickly. It's hard to put your finger on what's causing that culture to be the way it is. Why is it positive? Why am I getting this positive vibe, or why is this so negative? Right? I was at a school a few years ago, walked on campus with another administrator, not from that school. We walked that campus for a half hour. We both get in a room after that, and like, wow, the culture here is horrible. And nobody talked to us. Nobody smiled. Nobody said, good morning. It was head down. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Very easy to pick up. Where would I start with that? I'd start with the head. Who's leading the organization? Culture starts with him or her. And it flows down through adults. In a school setting, your culture among your kids flows through adults. So it flows from administration into other administrators, into principals, into teachers, to kids. So I think you got to start at the top. And if the culture's bad, when I feel our culture, sometimes throughout the year in South Dakota, you can feel morale down a little bit, kind of in March.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
After three months of sub-zero weather and snow, I can feel the morale down a little bit, or I'll get somebody to tell me, hey, morale is down a little bit there. And I always got to look mirror first. Like, what are we doing for our staff right now?
That's good.
What aren't we doing for our staff right now? Are we valuing them? People need to be valued. They want to be valued, right? They want to be seen. And so what are those things you can do to value your people, those little things? Last week, Friday, so second day of school, we had a coffee truck out front for staff and students. And coffee truck pulls up and they get coffee for a half hour, 45 minutes. It's one of those things we don't have to do. We just did it, right? 2 weeks ago, we fed them 3 days in a row, Chick-fil-A and Pizza Ranch and something else. I forget what it was.
Yeah. Hopefully a salad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But what are those small things, right?
Yeah.
Then I also think what causes culture to be solid is presence.
Mm.
You've got to be present among your people.
Mm-hmm.
My job pulls me out of the office a lot, but I have to be present among those 13 direct reports I have.
Mm-hmm.
Principals have to be present with their teachers. Teachers have to be present with kids. And then you've got, in our setting, again, you got your support staff. What are you doing to make that custodial staff feel valued?
Yeah.
They're a big part of the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or your food service folks. Work hard, great people. But you know what? My job is to wash dishes for 2 hours. What can I do to make them feel valued?
Mm-hmm.
I think that all feeds into culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's great, Jay. That's great. Well, brother, believe it or not, I mean, we're about, going to have to land this plane on this podcast, but there's such a, this has been so good, and I feel like I could ask you questions all day long, and you just would not stop giving just gold nuggets and adding value to the listeners here. And but I want to just quickly ask about just you mentioned at the beginning, just sometimes you've learned lessons in leadership the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
So as you think about just a couple key leadership lessons
Mm-hmm.
that you've had, that continue to just rise to the surface for you.
Mm.
And so, and I know that you mentioned, like, when you're young, you think you know it all,
Right.
you don't really know anything, or you know very little. But like, if there's someone that's maybe early in their leadership journey, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're more of a veteran,
Right.
what are some of like your top two, your top
Mm.
three leadership lessons that you think everybody needs to know?
Right. Well, if you're young or you're a little bit older, listen first. Be a listener.
Mm-hmm.
You got to listen before you do. There's a lot of wisdom out there that you think you might know, but you really don't.
Mm.
So listen well before you act. Get into a new role. Don't make changes immediately, right? You might think you know, but you don't. You don't know what's around the corner.
Mm.
So be a great listener. Second one would be to value those you work with. Value people in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? To value people in general. Make them feel valued in the kingdom of God for who they are, what he has called them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I used to ask my kids daily, you can ask my son Joel this, what was
Mhm.
dad's favorite question? They'd come home from school and I would say, who'd you value today? How did you add value to someone today?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
awesome.
asked them that almost every day.
Yeah.
How did you add value today? And I asked myself that.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly, I'm a Christ follower. I can't do this on my own.
Mm.
And I humbly have to go to him every day.
Mm.
That's the key in my opinion.
Man,
Be a great listener, add value, serve the Lord.
yeah, that was so good. Listen, if no matter where you are on the journey of leadership, that is just so good. Well, Jay, thank you. Thanks for taking time
Thanks for having me.
To come and just. I always look at these like little mentorship sessions for me. Like I said, like I always feel like I walk away and go, man, I learned so much today. And so it's so fun to be able to bring that to just the ResGen audience and listeners today. And real quick, if someone wants to connect with you, if someone wants to know a little bit just more about you, I mean, they want to connect with you, how best can they do that? Is it through LinkedIn, sending an email to school? How can they connect with you?
Probably an email to school would be best. I am on LinkedIn, but
Okay.
I'm horrible at checking.
Okay.
I'm not a FaceTimer or a Facebooker.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media guy.
Yeah.
I'm an email text guy. Probably an email to school.
Okay.
Is the best way.
Yeah,
to do it.
and they can head to the Sioux Falls Christian website and connect with you there.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
perfect.
Mhm.
Well, at the end of our podcast, every episode, we have what I call the final word.
Sure.
And it's just 30 to 90 seconds of whatever you feel like the Lord has laid on your heart that you want to send people off with.
Mhm.
Actually, we kind of put this into place from the very first season of the podcast, and signifying that a lot of times some of the final words that we hear from people are the ones that are, continue to ring in our ears. I think about my grandfather and the last words that he shared with me before he passed away. And so that's where this whole idea came from, is saying, man, here's just kind of a final word from Jay that he wants to send you off with: encouragement, scripture, anything you want. So what's your final word for us?
Well, Tom, I would say this if it were you asking me or anybody else, but what I'm going to say fits pretty close to what you do for RESGEN. I've been led in the last few weeks to really have a desire to reach young men, high school age men. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about how to do it, right? I'm thinking once a month, twice a month, getting freshmen through seniors in on a Friday morning, finding them some good food to feed them, but then getting men in front of them. Sharing testimonies, time of prayer. I'm still working in my mind what else has to happen in that time. But the reason I think that's so important is we have to do a great job, you and I, others, in developing young men to be great dads to their kids, to be great husbands to their wives, to serve their churches, to serve their community, to be community leaders, to serve their organization, all for the kingdom. I don't want to continue this lack of leadership among men in society. And I know you're doing that with adult men. I think I'm feeling led in our school. What can we do with those 14 to 18-year-old men?
So good.
Plant those seeds.
Yeah. Well, that resonates with me.
I know it does.
That's why our secondary target and what we're trying to do is get as many, high school and college age men.
Right.
And this year we finally have seats to be able to do it at the Premier Center. But how do we get as many high school and college age men to the Men's Summit? Because if we can help them build the foundation in Christ prior to them in getting into their career, becoming dads, becoming married, all those kinds of things like you just mentioned, man, we are going to be so far ahead of back when I was, a high schooler and college student. And I had great men and great people involved in my life, but how much more can it be? So I know we're gonna have future conversations about ways we can do that. And I'm looking forward to that, but thank you. Thank you for the way that you've given your life for over 30 years, to invest in the next generation, in a school setting, as a coach, as an athletic administrator, to the different principal roles, the superintendent, and all the different hats you've worn, and your longevity and your desire to not see a finish line at the end, as it's just, and maybe it slows down a little bit, but I think, but you're always going to be one of those dudes that is just continually using the time and the platform God's given you to invest in other people. And so thank you for that. Thank you for just being my friend and being here today. And I really appreciate you, Jay.
Thanks, Tom.
You bet.
You bet.